bark, bark.
I'm Emily. I am the Chief Marketing Officer with Brainiest, and I'm going to introduce you to how I use Brainiest for our own blog posts. Um, Blog posts can be a great way to make sure that you're getting more eyes on your website, that your SEO is up. And so I'm going to get started here with what I do. And I use more than one applet in this case. So you should be able to see my screen. The obvious place to start would, of course, be under content creation, blogs, text, and SEO, and to choose blog posts. So we are going to start here and talk a little bit about how I use this, what I input, and why I input those things. So the first thing to do is, of course, fill out the information that has the asterisk next to it. If it has an asterisk next to it, it is required information. So we do need your company name. Web page with more info can be good. However, here's what I found in using the blog post applet for our own blog posts on the Brainiest website. When I want the educational tone for the blog post, so that it's really more about getting our customers to understand marketing, the differences between marketing and sales, what things like search engine optimization can do for you. If I put in our website, something about the algorithm more automatically goes towards a sales bent. And I've found that if I don't include our website, I will still get a little bit of the promotion of ourself, but that the tone remains much more educational. So in all of our applets, I just highly recommend, playing around with the fields that you fill in to see what makes the most sense for you and the specific tone that you're looking for. You know your brand best, you know what you're trying to achieve with your blog posts, you know who your target audiences are for that. So as always, it's that interaction between the human element, in this case, me for Brainiest, and the actual applets. If you have social media handles, I do recommend putting those in too. That helps get a lot of cross-pollination between what you're doing on your website and some of your other areas that you are trying to reach your various target audiences. Then we get to blog post specifics. So we've got the length in this category, and it can be anywhere from 250 words up to 2,000. I tend to choose the highest option, 2,000, because I've found that by and large, even if I input a lot into stories or anecdotes that I want included, it still doesn't get to 2,000 words. It maximizes really what's going to be optimal for people to read. And most folks are not going to want to read a 2,000 word post. And then you can choose from the drop down your tone for the blog post. I chose educational. Tones really do completely change how this reads. So think about, again, your goals for the blog post and which one of your target audiences you are trying to reach with it. When it comes to specific points or features to be highlighted, this is where I tend to put in what my main topic is. So in this case, it is what a social media plan can do for my business. When we get down to stories or anecdotes related to the product service that can be included, in some cases, I already have very specific points that I want to make. Perhaps I'm writing a blog post on an actual experience that my team had at the Small Business Expo, in which case I'm putting in stories or anecdotes that, we all had direct experience with different customers, with small business owners about what their needs were. Those are things that we want to relay to a larger audience. And so I will input those myself. If, however, what I'm looking for is something more similar to this post, which is a really informational, educational post about what a social media plan can do for you, what I often do is use another one of our applets. If you scroll up to the top, you see all of our different headers with different applets here. But I go all the way over to the right-hand side, and in orange, there is Get an Answer. And so I will go into Get an Answer, open that tab, and then I will search the internet. What social media platform is best suited for promoting a new web-based service designed to help subscribers create marketing material? That's one example of something I put in. I can also just directly put in what a social media plan do for my business, because that is the topic that I am interested in writing a blog post on. I put it in there, I hit generate. Get an Answer is thinking. And in the case of the original blog post that I was showing you and how I worked that, what I did was just take the information from Get an Answer here. I hit copy. It's copied to my clipboard. I went back to blog post, and under the stories or anecdotes, I just did a right click and I pasted all of that information directly in there, because it's the information that I want to relay to my customer. I am not, as a profession, a blog post author. My personal tone of voice, the content creation, is not my brand. So what I write for Brainiest, doesn't have to be my authentic voice. The point of blog posts on Brainiest, much like they may be for your own businesses, would be to educate, give background about the types of things that your business does and why it would be important for people, and to get eyes onto your website to help with that search engine optimization. So you're not going to be as worried about making sure your own writing shines through in it. So as with anything that you are doing with AI, of course, read through what you have posted in here, making sure it hits a lot of your main points. These other areas can be toggled, opened, or closed. You'll see that they don't have asterisks next to them and therefore are not required. Similarly, that stories or anecdotes, there's no asterisk there, but this information makes it so that the blog post that is generated is not as general and generic in terms of web scraping. It has more of the information that I believe is pertinent to our audience and gives some more details to pull from. So I kept our brand voice in here. It's professional and educational for this particular setting. I didn't include anything else about the product or service. We are not really trying to sell Brainiest with our blog posts. We are trying to generate awareness of what we can do. And then I input our target audience. Now, our target audience doesn't carry over between different applets, because depending on what you are doing, you may have a different target audience. in this case, because we are specifically speaking about social media, um, calling out social media marketers or digital marketers as a target audience is more important than it would be if we were just generally discussing a marketing plan. So you want to make sure that you have some room to really think about which of your target audiences you are targeting with this particular blog post. And then we do have a call to action just to check out our applets and see what we can do for you. Now we get into SEO, the search engine optimization. I have some keywords that I've placed in here. I always do checks of this repeatedly. So these are sort of my ideas for keywords that would go in here. Small business owners, marketing, digital marketing, etc. I'm going to go ahead and generate right now, and then I'll show you what I do after this. So I'm using the latest model, and it's going to generate a blog post with a title, with headings. It's going to be nicely segmented. It will give me potentially an idea of what to type in to generate an image, and it will give me some different keyword suggestions as well. So you can see here, title, it says who it's by. You do not have to include everything that's in this. It gives a nicely organized blog post, the call to action with the take the next step. As I said, a suggested image, and then we have an SEO section. So here's the title. That SEO title, you'll notice, is different than the title that it gave at the top. Given that my purpose in the Brainiest blog posts is to help with the search engine optimization, I'm a lot more likely to use the SEO title here. And to use these keywords when I go ahead and fill everything in, you can see up here, I've got a dashboard. I would hit that. I would go to our blog post page to add a post, and it would have inputs for all of these different things, the title, the keywords, the SEO meta description. Now I can take all of that and do that. I can also double check my work, really triple check, because I'm always going to read through it myself. And I always have the option to regenerate if I want maybe a different look to this. But I'm going to take what we have right now, and I'm going to go to content creation, blogs, text, and SEO. And we have a new feature, a new applet, SEO analysis. And this was created at my behest because I needed it as I was posting blogs. And so I'm going to paste in the plain text for that blog here. I'll use the latest model again. And what this applet does is it will scan the existing web page, plain text, or document and do an SEO analysis. So it'll summarize the text. It's going to suggest an SEO title that may be different from the one that the blog post applet gave, keywords and meta description, and provide recommendations to improve the text for a better website ranking. This can be really, really important for trying to get eyeballs onto your website. So we're running it through the SEO analysis now. Okay. And so it gives me the analysis down here. It gives me some primary keywords to use and secondary keywords. This can go directly into the fields that would be in my dashboard and using WordPress in order to publish my blog. It talks about keyword density, It gives me meta tags, headings, and content structure suggestions. And then here we have an SEO friendly title and meta description. And I'm going to compare those to what I would have copied and pasted into a Word document already of the original blog post that was generated by the blog post applet, and decide which one I think best suits our needs. I have noticed that with a lot of different AI models, you will see certain words over and over again that AI just seems to think sound really human for some reason or another. Unlock is a really big one. Engage is a big one. Uncover. And so I will tend to use titles that avoid those so that it is not very obviously gimmicky AI. But that is my personal preference and it might not be yours. And then it gives me content optimization recommendations. So incorporate more instances of secondary keyword to improve that density balance. Consider adding internal links to other relevant content to enhance the SEO and user experience. Include a call to action with a link to a specific service page or product related to social media strategies. And utilize bullet points or numbered lists for easier readability and better engagement. If I want to do any of these, then I can go back to the Word document that I copied the original blog post into, and I can go ahead and start making my edits based on those recommendations. Once I've done that, I can then, if I just want to be extra cautious, which I frequently do, go into content creation, blogs, text, and SEO, and go to copy, edit, or translate. I could paste all of it in here, but we'll pretend this had my changes. And then maybe I just want to make sure that grammar and spelling is good, that it's, rewritten for clarity because I've made some changes, and I could give the instruction to, ensure tone throughout is educational, because maybe I'm worried since I altered some of the text, added some things, subtracted some things, and then I would generate from there. Additionally, there was the suggestion for an image. When I go in and use WordPress to publish a post on our website, I am required to have a featured image on that. And I generate all of our featured images in Brainiest. So I go to content creation, images and multimedia, and I tend to choose from the create image from text category and go to text to image ultra. You can use any of them that you want depending on the sort of style that you like. We give you different trade-offs of using this applet versus our other image generating applets. If you are new to image generation, you may want to start with, if you go under images and multimedia, create images from text, you might want to start with create image with DALL-E, only because when you go in there, when you give a prompt the first time and hit generate, it will generate an image for you, but it also gives you a very detailed suggestion of a different prompt that you can use to work from to try to get things as specific and closer to what you want. In this case, we're just going to do text to image ultra, and I typed in a person sitting in front of a computer creating a social media plan. You do not have to use whatever the blog post generated that you should consider as a suggested image. A lot of times those seem a little similar. This is again where the fun of using AI for this stuff comes in with marketing still, because I didn't spend so much time agonizing over wording of my blog, I can start to get more creative about recommendations that it's giving me for images. So you can see that it came up with a pretty nice image. Nothing looks particularly unusual or strange. I wouldn't necessarily read everything too closely, but in general, it looks pretty decent to be used for a blog post. And you can continue to refine this. So, you may want it that it is an older male who is Hispanic. You could type that in instead and get something different. You may want a slightly different office setting. You might want some city skyline outside of the window. That's something that you could add to enhance this. But the image is sort of the last thing I do based on whatever I've decided to write the blog post from. Everything needs to be copied if you're going to use it. It's saved to your clipboard, and you need to paste it in whatever is most comfortable for you to use. Or you can right click, save image as, and then save it to the folder of your choice. That tends to be what I do. I like to keep all of my blog post information together in one folder so that I can quickly pull from it to start scheduling my posts. But you'll note that even though we just have, the one blog post applet, there ends up being a lot of applets that I use just to ensure that it's as high quality as it can possibly be. You can also choose long tail keywords if you're interested in that as part of the SEO analysis to get some more ideas there. And then copy editor translate is always great for things because perhaps you've realized that a certain segment of your target audience actually is much more likely to, let's say, read Spanish than English. You can take what you've written and you can have it translated to Spanish to use on either your website as well, so that you have it in multiple languages, or to use it somewhere else, maybe in a social media campaign that more specifically targets your Spanish speaking audience to get the sort of information out that you would want to get out in your blog post. And you can see that it is now kept the same format, but it is all in Spanish. And I add and subtract as needed. If it's something where, I don't want it specifically referencing me, I will take those things out. If I want a different support email, I will change that. I cannot emphasize enough how much you still do need the human aspect in working with AI, because you're the one who knows your business, you're the one who knows your brand, you're the one who has an idea of which audience you are targeting with the content you are creating. And so that content, that voice needs to make sense for who you're targeting. And in every single case, you can always hit regenerate. And again, copy to make sure it's to your clipboard, and then paste it into Word or PowerPoint or whatever it is you use. If you hit refresh in any of our applets, that takes you back to the area where you fill in the fields, and you can tweak as needed. Maybe you've decided that you don't like the educational tone. That was a mistake. You'd like it more professional. You can change it. You can change it to friendlier. Whatever it is that it needs to be, it's not a hard change to make if you just hit refresh, and then you can tweak from there. Does anyone have any questions?
I do not, but thank you. Although I do have one question. The images that you are creating, are the images always copyright free? No
Yes.
issues with copyright or anything like that?
Nope. You create them and therefore they are yours. They're your own.
Thank you.
Yep. And we have a lot of different editing tools as well. So if you liked an image, but it wasn't quite what you wanted and kind of tinkering with it wasn't changing it enough, you can always try image variations as well. And we have things like extend an image if it wasn't, necessarily the viewpoint that you wanted of it, etc. New image from another can do something fairly similar to image variations as well.
All right, thank you. One other question comes to mind too, and this is my first webinar that I've joined of yours. Have you done prior webinars or have recordings where you've talked about creating just social media posts, specifically like on LinkedIn?
No, we haven't covered social media posts yet, and definitely not specifically LinkedIn. We did have one where we just talked about image generation tips, but it was only focused on image generation. And unfortunately, we didn't record that one, but
Okay.
maybe in the future. Is LinkedIn specifically something you would be interested in?
Yeah, it is for some ideas that I have, but
Okay.
it's nothing urgent. Maybe I'll just figure that out myself.
I'd be happy to talk about it next week.
All right. I won't be able to join next week. But that is a topic I'd like to at some point research more.
Okay, great. Yeah,
Thank you.
I'd be happy to help.
Thank you, Emily.
Sure. Bruce, do you have any questions?
Yes, I put it in the chat there, but this is a good place. So, is this the only place that we could give prompts maybe to exclude those words? You know, you were talking about the unlock and the engage. Is this in other instructions on how to edit your text? Is this the only place that we would be able to give those kind of prompts, or is there another place that we could do that?
It's a good question. What I tend to do, I mean, I think when you go to the blog post applet, you'll see that you can type in something like any restrictions or sensitivities related to the product or service. You could probably type in here, don't use the following words. Um, I'm not completely sure what results you would get from that, to be totally honest, because I use this product the same way anyone else would. It just didn't quite occur to me to have it exclude that. I consider more things like, exactly the examples we've given because I helped write the examples. So we're always a little limited in that, but that would potentially be an area you could do it. I tend to just go through myself and edit out what I don't like, or change it. The other thing that I like to do a lot too is borrow from more than one generation of it and swap things out that I prefer. And again, some of that is just personal preference. I tend to be a person that if there is a chart, I am much more likely to like the chart, find it clearer, for how I learn than having a ton of long form text. So I might swap out areas where one generation, it's so funny, of course, I just talked about that, has the chart here. And so I like this chart, but maybe I like some of the wording better from a different iteration. But I can always copy this, paste it into the one of my choice, and hit regenerate. And it's going to give me a slightly different result that then you'll see once that comes up, there's an exchange option over here, and I can look back and forth between the current generation and the last output that it generated. And usually I will copy more than one and then swap out what I do and don't like, because I'm a much better editor and it's much faster for me to edit and know what I want than, the time that it takes to actually write it out. Yeah, so you can see this one gives a slightly different table, and the one that we did before, same stuff, same content put into it, did not have any tables, but I can exchange back and forth between the two. So I might like this title better, so I'll swap it out. But I think this chart is better. And that tends to be the way I do it, but that's a great suggestion. I am going to try in the future to see if it'll use that as a restriction and not use the term unlock so much anymore.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bark, bark.